Ina alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Welcome everyone to the first class here for today at Sunnahfollowers, which is our Aqidah class. And this is the most important class that any of us will ever indulge upon, because again, if your belief system is not correct, then none of your good deeds, and I do mean not any of them, will be accepted. So that's why we stress Akida classes here at Sunnahfollowers, because again, you don't want to be the person who the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned about, the person who will wake up on the day of judgment and have to stand before Allah and be bankrupt of all his or her good deeds, because Allah is not going to accept them because they were upon some weird belief system. They were celebrating birthdays. Oh yeah. I keep telling you Muslims that stuff is haram. That's an act of worship. We don't worship anyone but Allah. Just because your child was born, you think that everybody should come and wish him to have a happy birthday, that he's deserving of presents and gifts and money and cake and candy and ice cream because he was born. That's worship. That's an act of worship. We don't worship anyone or anything other than Allah. So you don't want to be bankrupt, because when Allah tells you, why were you worshiping your children and your grandchildren? Why did you want the people to worship you? I'm the one that blessed you with the age of 80 years old. You didn't make yourself live to be 80. That was me who did that. But you felt that you were worthy of worship for that? Get ye in the hellfire. All your good deeds are lost. You will burn, baby, burn. Disco fever with John Travolta for eternity, because you worshiped yourself. Oh my God. Can y'all imagine a lot of people like that? Remember, there will be more people in hell than paradise. Out of every 1,000 people, 999 of them are going to be in hell. That's a lot of people. Do you even know 1,000 people? Oh my God. For the things like that, because they died upon sins of disbelief, worship of something other than Allah. That's a sin of disbelief. Suicide, that's a sin of disbelief. Arrogance, the kind where you think that you are superior over others, that you are incapable of ever making a mistake or having a fault. That's a sin of disbelief. There's a lot of sins of disbelief, guys. Loving something or someone more than you do Allah, that's a sin of disbelief. Fearing someone or fearing something more than you do Allah, that's a sin of disbelief too. Everything has to be balanced with us. Remember, as Muslims, we are people of dignity. We are people of humility and balance. Just like the ad says, with dignity, humility, and balance. You remember those three things. We have to be balanced in our love. If you love your husband, but be balanced. Don't love him more than you do Allah. Don't love him to the point where you do things to please him instead of pleasing Allah. That's the mistake you women make, because y'all listen to these brothers misinform you and tell you supposed to do whatever they tell you to do to make them happy. No, that's not true. Allah didn't say that. Allah didn't say nothing like that, because that's worship. My life, my soul, my existence is for Allah, not for a man, not for a child, not for an animal. Whatever I do, any good deeds, the Prophet Muhammad was clear. In order for your good deeds to be accepted, it must meet two criteria. Number one, it must have only been done to please Allah, not Allah and anyone or anything else. In a beautiful hadith qudsi, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us that Allah says, I am not in need of anything that a person does for my sake and somebody else's. So no, you don't do things to please your husband. You do them to please Allah. Y'all understand what I mean? What I'm saying? What I'm meaning? Let me break it down in plain more, because this is a question. One of the sisters wants me to explain this. I'm breaking it down. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whenever we please Allah, whenever we do things to please him, in turn, Allah will not only reward you for that, but he will cause the right people to love you for that too. We went over that hadith yesterday. When Allah loves a person, he calls the angel Jibreel and he says, oh, Jibreel, I love so-and-so, and I want you to love so-and-so too. So Jibreel will go and announce to all the inhabitants of the heavens, Allah loves so-and-so. So he wants you to love them too. And then the angels of mercy will descend upon the earth and will cause the other people to love you that need to love you. Y'all understand that? So, for example, let me make it even more clear. You are a married woman. Allah has defined what your role is as a married woman, what your rights are as a married woman, and what your duties are. Allah commands you. He says, if you are a woman who believes in him, you will obey your husband in what he tells you to do, as long as he's not telling you to do something that contradicts what I say. That's what Allah says. And Allah says, as a believing woman, your husband has rights over you. You have to obey him in what he commands you to do, as long as it's not in contradiction to what I have said. That's number one. That's your husband's first right. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that my husband can come to me and tell me to do something that is harmful to me, that Allah didn't command me to do? Does that mean that my husband can come to me and make me or tell me to do something that is not an obligation that Allah imposed upon me, that I don't want to do? No, he can't do that to you. Remember, Islam is balance, dignity, humility, balance. Allah doesn't give all this power to a man where he can oppress a woman, because Allah knows his creation better than we know ourselves. There's a limit, a balance. As our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained, When Allah speaks about obeying your husband, that's in the things that Allah has commanded you to do for him. You got to know what his rights are. You have to guard in your husband's absence what he would have you to guard. That means his home, his children. It's your job to take care of the home. It's your job to take care of the children. It's your job to make sure the bills get paid. Oh yeah, that's your job as the woman. It's his job to make the money. It's your job to make sure the rent and all the bills are allocated and paid like they're supposed to be. So obey your husband in that. Do that and do it right. Do it well. Do it within the guidelines of Islam, of what Allah imposed. Allah also said the right that your husband have over you. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot allow anyone in his home that he doesn't approve of. That's his right. So you obey him. Your husband says he doesn't want your friend over your house, coming to his house. You tell your friend she can't come over to visit. Your husband say he doesn't want the neighbors in the house. You don't let the neighbors come in. You obey him. When Allah says obey your husband, he's talking about in the things that Allah commanded you to obey him in. That's his right. That's why you have to learn the rights of each other. Learn the rights of the man, the rights of the husband. You obey your husband in those rights. Allah says a woman cannot refuse her husband intimately. So if your husband say, I want it now, you obey him. You drop what you doing and give him what he needs. Because you know they weak anyway. If you don't give it to him, he gonna go get it somewhere else. Y'all claim you don't like gammy. Oh, he got gammy going on. Well, you let him do it. You should have obeyed him. Gave him what he needed. You know they weak. Men are weak. Very weak to that crap. And do it well. Do it well so he goes away not looking for it anywhere else. So when Allah says obey your husband, he's talking about in the things that Allah commanded you to obey your husband in. Do y'all understand that? Guard in his absence what he would have you guard. Not allow anyone to sit in his house who he doesn't approve of. Answer his call. Obey him in all of that. But now, if it's something that you don't have to do, can he force you to make sunnah prayers? Say, for example, your husband comes home and say, I want you to start making all sunnah prayers that Allah made permissible. I want you to pray all the sunnah rakats, witr. I want you waking up for witr. I want you doing duha prayer. I want you doing istikhara. Do you have to obey him in all of that? No, because praying the sunnah prayers ain't no obligation. Y'all understand that? Allah doesn't command any of us to pray the sunnah prayers. We don't have to. If we don't make any sunnah prayer, Allah's not even going to ask us about them. They bring more reward, but Allah's not going to ask you, did you make sunnah prayers? He's going to ask you, did you make them obligatory ones? So if your husband demands that you make every single prayer in every sunnah prayer in existence, you can say, that's too much for me. I'm not doing that. My Lord didn't command me to do that. And you don't have the right to make me do that. You have no rights to make me do anything that my Lord did not obligate me to do when it comes to actions of worship and things like that. Y'all understand? There's a limit. You tell him, but I'm not letting nobody in your house. I'm guarding myself, my children, and your home. I'm doing everything else the Lord commanded. But you ain't going to impose that on me. There's a limit because I don't worship you, Aki. I worship Allah. Y'all see? That's the limit. Can he force you to wear a niqab? Can he force you to walk around in gloves in the hot sun and all of that? No, because it's not an obligation. Can he tell you what? Do it to make me happy. I want you to pray every sunnah prayer that Allah created. And I want you to walk around in gloves and a niqab for the rest of your life. You look at him and say, excuse me, no way, Jose. Nope, because that's too much. Nope. Just like the sunnah prayers are too much for me. I got kids to run after. Putting on a glove? Oh, are you crazy? I want to see you wear some gloves and cover your face, 24 outside in the heat. I'm not doing it. And if he say, do it to please me, no. Because even if I did do it to please you, it's not accepted by Allah. That's what you sisters have not been told. That's what these brothers have not told you. Allah does not accept any deed that you do unless it's done for him. And why were you created? Were you created to worship your husband? Were you created to worship your children? Were you created to worship your parents? Because some of the parents do this crap too. No, I was created to worship my Lord, my fitra, the fitra that's in all of our hearts. It's trying to find its way back to Allah. My fitra is not trying to find its way to you. It's trying to find its way to Allah. So I'm not doing that. That's what the brothers don't tell y'all. So you sisters call me up with all your problems. My husband trying to make me. That's because you letting him. You don't have to obey nobody on this planet if they're trying to tell you to do something that Allah didn't command you to do. Be it your husband, be it your mother, be it whoever. Y'all understand? Because even if you did it to make that person happy, you wasted your time. You just oppressed yourself. So you walked around with gloves on and your face covered with a hole in your head, miserable, dejected, oppressed. Because you chose to, because Allah is not accepting it. He gonna look at you in the day of judgment and say, wait a minute, I didn't command you to do that, number one. You were created to worship me. You chose to make your husband happy when your life should have been making me happy. And the way to make me happy is to fulfill the obligations I imposed upon you. And know when to hold and when to fold. Dignity, humility, and balance. You didn't balance yourself out, sister. Every Muslim should know their strengths and their weaknesses. I know mine. Can't no man make me do that crap. And believe you me, they tried. I ain't wearing nothing. Are you out? I want to see you put on some gloves, dude, and cover your face up and go out there. Get on out the house. Let me see you do it. You better get out of here. It ain't happening. I know when to hold and when to fold. But now call me to do my intimate duties. Hey, y'all got to go. Ain't going to be no classes. Hello? If I was married, brother man said, Layla, I need you now. Excuse me. No classes today. See y'all tomorrow. We can ready to take care of business. That's different. Sister Layla, I don't want this person over my house. No problem, Aki. It's my husband's home. You ain't coming in here. Sister Layla, I don't want your family over. I'll even accept that. Family, we can meet up on Zoom. What happened? Okay, but now you're going to make me do something I don't have to do? Oh, no, I'm sorry. That ain't happening. No. Obey you in what Allah commands me to obey you in. That's it. I obey you in what Allah commands me to obey you in. But you are not Allah. You sisters have to stop trying to feed the narcissistic ego of your husband. The narcissistic ego of your husband wants to be worshiped, because that's what all of us want as humans. The soul is criminal. The soul is criminal by nature. The soul wants to feel superior. The Prophet Muhammad said this: every human soul craves to be superior over others. Your husband wants to be worshiped. You got to break him out of that. I ain't worshiping you. You better go somewhere, dude. You better go make some 2 rakats. Ask Allah to take it away from you. So it's their nature to try to make you. It's my nature too. All of our nature. We all are capable of that. They want to be worshiped, just like you as a woman want to be praised. So you tell them, Akid, you going too far. I obey you in what Allah commands me to obey you in, but I'm not, hey, I love me. I ain't going to end up in hell because of you. And you remind him, just like you got El Hureen waiting on you, there's thousands. I mean, thousands. There's thousands of prophets and there's thousands of companions that could be waiting for me. So you better balance yourself out, Aki, and accept that this I ain't doing, because I ain't got to do it. And move on. You sisters understand? Did I break that down for these sisters here? Because these are the questions I got today. Every day I get these questions from you sisters about this stuff. Did I explain this to them well? Anybody in Zoom?
Yes, you did.
You new sisters got it? So we obey them in what Allah commanded us to obey them in, but there's a limit. There's a thin line between obedience and worship. Thin line between obedience and worship. Don't worship your husband, girl. Don't feed that ego. We're going to talk about the nature of the soul. We're going to talk about that desire to be worshiped that so many of these brothers suffer with. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a couple of the chapters of this book. As a good Muslim wife, you got to help your husband around that. You tell him, now you want me to worship you. There's a thin line between obedience and worship. Both of us, we worship Allah. I obey you in what Allah commanded, but that's it. I don't, you can't compete with my Lord. It's your job as a woman to keep your husband balanced. Khadija, radiallahu anha, she kept the Prophet Muhammad balanced. When he felt that he was going crazy, she balanced him. That's our job as a woman too, to keep our husband balanced. So when he come talking to you like that, don't turn it into a fight. When he come talking to you like that, telling you, are you supposed to obey me? I want you to wear gloves. I want you to stop wearing colors. I want you to cover your face. You say, lie, Aki. That ain't happening. Because number one, my Lord didn't command that of me. Number two, didn't you marry me because you wanted a righteous wife? Doesn't Allah say righteous women are for righteous men? Well, guess what? I have to balance you out. Nowhere does Allah say that you can force me to do something that I don't want to do. We're supposed to live together, as Allah says, in kindness, in love, in harmony. We're not supposed to impose conditions on each other to break us. In fact, the Prophet said, be careful with a woman. Don't bend her to the point of breaking her. Don't I cook your food for you? Don't I answer your call? Don't I obey you in everything that Allah commanded? Or am I not good with these children? Have I not sacrificed my desires to work and do other things to be here to give you what you want? So now I'm drawing the line. I don't have to cover my face. I don't have to wear gloves. I don't have to dress in black, although I look good in black, bro. I don't have to dress in black because guess what, brother? Even if I did do those things for you, they would never be accepted by Allah. And didn't you marry me because you wanted a righteous woman? Righteous women do for the sake of Allah. They don't do for the sake of Allah and anyone else. Because to do for the sake of Allah and anyone else is shirk. And Allah doesn't accept it. So just remind him of that. If he's a good man, he's going to say, oh, okay, baby. All right, baby. And just tell him, I stay in the house. You see, I don't go nowhere. I never leave the house unless I'm going to get groceries so I can cook good meals for you. I never leave the house unless I'm going to take the children to school. I leave the house to satisfy you. I don't leave the house to satisfy myself. So don't you think I'm making enough sacrifices for you, Aki? Because that's another right. That's another right. That's another right that the husband has over you. You cannot leave your home without his knowledge. So you remind him in a nice way. I don't even leave. Don't worry about my hands and my face because don't nobody see me but you. Unless I'm going to the grocery store and I make sure that I dress modestly the way Allah commanded me to dress. Or unless I'm taking the children to school. And even when I do that, it's the way Allah commanded. So Aki, we're okay. We're okay. You know, that's what you do. And he'll say, okay, okay. Then you tell him, now I got a reward for you. Guess what? Tell him to hit the back room. Then take him to the back room and call it a day or a night. And that's the end of it. Do you sisters understand? You have to use psychology on a man. Oh my God.